Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Before we continue on, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on my videos, as well as hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I come out with new videos. Now, today is my third entry into my diary series. The time now is 23:35 hours on June 25th in the year 2023 Common Era. So, today, what I'm going to talk about is why I don't have a job. Now, why I don't have a job is pretty simple. See, I live in Vietnam. For those of you that don't know, I live in Vietnam. And in Vietnam, they have very specific rules as to how a foreigner can get a job. A foreigner is not allowed to work a normal job or regular job because of the fact that those jobs are reserved for locals only. Now, to make that point, I'm going to read to you some things that I have harvested on my computer and we'll go from there. I can't show a screenshot or anything else. Well, maybe I can if I tilt the camera the right way. But I'll just go ahead and just read it out and you can go ahead and see my face. So here we go. First is the 2019 Labor Code of Vietnam. This is Article 151, Clause 3. Article 151, Requirements for Foreign Workers in Vietnam. Clause 3. Foreign employees working in Vietnam shall comply with and shall be protected by the labor law of Vietnam unless otherwise prescribed by treaties to which Vietnam is a signatory. And then Article 152, Clause 1, Requirements for Employment of Foreigners in Vietnam. Clause 1. Enterprises, organizations, individuals, and contractors shall only employ foreigners to hold positions of managers, executive directors, specialists, and technical workers, the professional requirements for which cannot be met by Vietnamese workers. That means that as a foreigner, you can only work a job that a local citizen cannot do themselves, which narrows it down from this to this. And in here, you are basically pigeonholed to where you can only work a very, very small select amount of jobs. And that's it. You're not allowed to do anything else. You're not allowed to be anything else. Now, because I come from the United States, I speak English naturally, and I have a lighter skin tone, this means my job opportunities for employment are very, very small. At the top of the ladder is being an English teacher, but since I don't want to be an English teacher anymore, for me, there's nothing else. I've tried to get a local job, but it's impossible because as a foreigner, I cannot get a local job. I tried creating my own employment. That didn't work either. Now, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about this. So, I read from there. Now I'm going to read from the 2020 Decree on Foreign Workers. Now, for the 2019 Labor Code of Vietnam, that's number 45/2019/QH14. The 2020 Decree on Foreign Workers, that is decree or number 152/2020 NDCP. And that's decree. So yeah, decree number 152/2020 NDCP. Now, Article 3, definition, Clause 3, expert, means a foreign worker who obtains at least a bachelor's degree or equivalent, and at least 3 years experience in his or her training field in correspondence with the job position/job assignment that he or she will be appointed in Vietnam. Obtains at least 5 years experience and a practicing certificate in correspondence with the job position that he or she will be appointed in Vietnam, or falls under a special case subject to decision of the Prime Minister according to a request of the Ministry of Labor, War Invalids, and Social Affairs. Now, see, as an English teacher, I obviously have more than 3 years of experience, but I don't want to be an English teacher anymore. So what else can I do here in Vietnam that is not teaching English? Well, I'll tell you. See, I actually have a professional certificate from Cedar Valley College in Texas in customer service. The actual name of the certificate is Professional Workforce Development, but that is customer service. And I have over 10 years of experience in that field because I drove over 5 years for Yellow Cab, and that does count a lot. And I also spent 5 years off and on working in fast food. And I'm not ashamed to say that, yeah, I worked in fast food. That's how I learned about customer service. So technically, I have met at least the 5 years minimum requirement to go ahead and use my customer service certificate. But because of this, I'm not allowed to have a job like that. Even though I'm willing to receive local salary, $10, $15 million a month, which isn't very much, but at least it's something, I'm not even allowed to get that. I'm either allowed to be an English teacher or I starve. That's it. That's the only thing I'm allowed to do. Now, like I said, I've tried online jobs. I've tried applying for work. I've even revived my monster.com account so I could go ahead and look for jobs that way. Anything, anything that's remote from the United States, anything that's remote here in Vietnam that I can do, I'd love to do it. But I'm not allowed to work. People don't understand how frustrating it is when you want to work, but you're not allowed to. People don't understand that. See, here's the thing. Unlike some people, I have a family that I have to take care of. But it's not just my wife, it's not just my daughter, it's also my wife's two parents because we all live in the same house. Now, someday I want to move out and get my own place with my family. That's something we can call ours. And it doesn't have to be that big. It could be the size of just this room. That's it. It doesn't need to be that big, but it'd be something that we could call ours. Something where we can lock the door. We don't have to let people inside if we don't want to. We can have visitors if we want to. Which here, yeah, we can have visitors if we want to. It's just there's extra people around and, it is what it is. But the thing is the fact that with me, I've lived in Vietnam over 4.5 years, and not once has anybody ever come to see me. Not once. Now, in that time, I've only invited 3 people. 3. In the over 4.5 years that I've been here. Nobody's shown up. At the last minute, there was some kind of excuse, and they just never showed up. Now, people are like, why are you so angry and bitter all the time? Well, I'm not really angry. I'm just bitter because of the fact that I got typecasted and pigeonholed into just teaching English, and that's it. I'm not allowed to do anything else. I'm not allowed to be anything else except an English teacher. Even though I have all this experience from the United States, I'm not allowed to use any of it because I'm not a citizen. And even when, not if, but when I become a Vietnamese citizen, because Vietnam does allow dual passport or, dual citizenship, and United States does too, last time I checked. Even when I become a citizen, I'm still not going to be allowed to get jobs like that because I can't speak Vietnamese. See, as I mentioned before in my previous videos, I have a bit of a learning deficiency. That means that it takes me a lot longer to learn things than most people do, but once I do, it's set in stone and I never forget it. But the problem is the fact that I've been here again over 4.5 years, and I've learned just barely enough Vietnamese to get around on. That's it. So imagine how long it's going to take me to fully master Vietnamese. And it's not for a lack of trying. It's I can do the lessons, but what I actually remember later on isn't that much. Like say if I do 100% of the lesson, okay? 100%. Out of that lesson, I may remember about this much. 10%, if that. So 9/10 of everything I learned goes, that's it. And I can't explain it. That's just how it is with me. Now, see, the thing is, though, when there is something I can remember, something I do remember, it's set in stone. I never forget it. That's the reason why my customer service skills are still fantastic, even though I haven't been in that field in 5 years. Now, the thing is, though, is the fact that when I drove a taxi, I dealt with a lot of colorful characters, ranging from drug addicts to elderly people to people who think they're, hot stuff on a gold platter and everything in between. I've dealt with everything, and I can tell you it takes a certain kind of person to actually want to be a taxi driver because it's not for everyone. And I also remember one day when in Springfield, Missouri, because that's where I was at last, when Uber and Lyft came into Springfield, everything went. No more college students, no more out of town rides. All that yellow cab got reduced to was basically a shuttle for old people to go to and from their doctor's appointments, a shuttle from Walmart to a person's house because they buy all their groceries in one day for the entire month. Then they turn around and get upset with me when I charge them $1 for more than 5 bags and an extra $2 for the fuel surcharge back when they still did that. Now, some taxi drivers charged $1 per every 5 bags. I only charged $1 period if it was 5 bags or more. Oh, and being treated like garbage by rich people, yeah, that was also a highlight of my day too, because they had very heavy luggage. They wanted to go to the airport, which is a $20 trip thereabouts, and they literally stood there like this. They stood there like this while I had to lug and hold their 50-pound plus luggage and lug it into the taxi cab before I drove them to the airport. And they didn't help me load it. They didn't help me unload it. They just stood there and then they didn't tip afterwards. Being a taxi driver, we depend on tips more than anything else because the fact that tips are something that the driver gets to keep. That's all them. That's not something that is shared with the company. That's not shared with the owner of the vehicle. That's something that the taxi driver themselves keep. And when Uber and Lyft came into town, it totally destroyed the market because of the fact that it made being a taxi driver so unprofitable that a lot of the companies shut down. As last I checked in Springfield, there was just Yellow Cab remaining. That's it, because all the other ones shut down because it just wasn't profitable anymore. And I think that's sad because unlike Uber and Lyft and all that other jazz, with Yellow Cab and taxi companies in general, they charge a flat fixed rate. Like $2 to get in and $2.50 to get in and $2 a mile. Charge 20 cents each tenth of a mile. And then if you have surcharges like $2 extra for the fuel surcharge, $1 for, 5 or more bags, and yeah, that gets added into your total. And that's exactly the price you pay is whatever the meter reads at the end. But with Uber and Lyft, their prices go like this. So if you go ahead and catch them on you catch them at a bad time when they have that peak pricing, that means you pay more than the taxi cab. But if you catch them during the off hours when not a lot of people are using Uber and Lyft, you pay cheaper than a taxi. This doesn't make any sense. This does make sense because with taxis, it's the exact same flat rate. Now, here's the thing. So, I have over 5 years of experience as a taxi driver, and that deals with customer service, that deals with handling money, that deals with handling luggage, that also deals with mechanic work. Because you have to know some very basic mechanic stuff in order to go ahead and keep your vehicle running, such as checking fluids. That means checking your antifreeze, your oil, your brake fluid, transmission fluid, all that. Check the tire pressure. Make sure the tires are properly inflated because if they're under or overinflated, it'll mess with your gas mileage. Make sure you put the proper fuel in the tank because some vehicles will run E85 ethanol even though it destroys the engine. You got to make sure you put in actual unleaded gas, like 87, 89, or 91 if you can afford it. Now, the thing is if you own your own vehicle, that means you're 100% responsible for the repairs. However, the only time a driver of an owner is responsible for the vehicle is if they get into an accident and it's proven to be their fault. If it's proven to be their fault, then yeah, the driver does have to pay to get it fixed. And if they don't have a job anymore and they get taken to court. However, if they do pay for it, then after a certain probationary period, everything's okay. Now, there's this one taxi story, because I did mention that I would be telling taxi stories from time to time, about this one lady. This one lady, I remember very clearly, must have weighed over 500 pounds. A huge lady. All right. Now, what I was driving was a Chrysler Pacifica. Before, they underwent the new upgrades and stuff like that. Now, the one that I'm talking about is, I don't know, 2008 or no, wait, maybe not 2008. It was a 2015 model. No, not 2015. It must have been like a 2010 model. It was an old model, but it was still good. So I drive up to her residence, and the vehicle sits like this, perfectly flat. Okay. When she gets out, I go, oh, no, this ain't going to be good. And you know what? She gets to the front seat. You know what happens when she got into the front seat? Everything went like this. No joke. It went like this. And then if that wasn't bad enough, her mother got in on the same side. So it went more like this. So here I am up here, and her mom are over here. Now, obviously, this is a dramatization. What happened is more like this, but it was enough to where it was noticeable. Not only that, but the woman stank. There's a difference between stink and stank. This woman stank. She literally smelled like she hadn't bathed in weeks, combined with cat urine, vomit smell, and all the horrible smells you could possibly imagine. That's the combination of what this lady smelled like. Not to mention a few other odors that I can't mention because of YouTube guidelines. But suffice it to say, this lady stank horribly, and her mama stank too, horribly. So I go ahead and drive them a couple miles up the road so they can go to the local grocery store, which, if I remember rightly, it should be Kroger. But if not, it could have been a Price Cutter. One of the two. I don't remember which. I'm thinking that because of that location, it was a Price Cutter. Anyways, it's raining, so I can't have the windows down. This lady stank. Her mom stank. And I had to smell that stank all the way to the store. When they got out and they were gone and everything, I was coughing and gagging. It was bad. And then after that, I took a whole can of Febreze, not the actual Febreze for fabric, but the air freshener Febreze, and I literally used an entire can on that vehicle. Because after I got done, I had to go to the gas station, purchase that air freshener, and literally hose down the entire vehicle with air freshener, which actually got it smelling just a minuscule bit better, but not by very much. Because after about 15-20 minutes, it wore off and you smelled the stank again. So by that point, it was already the end of my shift. So I go back up to the office and I tell the office two things. I go, one, that is a van-only address from now on because of that woman being so big. See, here's the thing that people don't understand about taxi drivers. The fact that the vehicles themselves are just regular vehicles. They are not reinforced to accommodate very large passengers. They're not. They're just regular vehicles. A woman that's that big should have been on a medical transport that can accommodate larger people like her, but she didn't. She chose to get a taxi that has a regular seat. Now, those seats have certain weight limits. And with her constantly banging her back into the back of the seat as she's getting in, I was actually afraid that the seat was going to break. And if that happened, who would be responsible for the damage? Would she be responsible, or would my owner be responsible? You see, questions like that were constantly on my mind. So that's the reason why I told the office that that's a van-only address, and second is that I'm not picking her up again because she stank so badly. Now, see, from my interpretation, it would have been the owner's fault if the seat broke. Even though the person weighs 400 or 500 pounds, it'd still be the owner of the vehicle's fault that the seat broke. Not to mention, if the person actually got injured because the seat broke, then the owner of the vehicle could be held liable for medical bills and stuff like that. So, yeah, that lady stank. She weighed way too much and should never have been in a taxi in the first place. Now, the reason why I tell you that story is because of the fact that that was one of the crowning moments of my customer service because I did not refuse service. I could have, but I did not refuse service. And I actually got the woman to her destination. And I didn't say anything evil at all. I didn't cough, gag, or anything while the people were in the vehicle, even though I was retching on the inside because of how terrible the smell was. And I believe I was professional when I told the office that I will not pick that lady up again because of safety concerns. She needs a van. The Chrysler Pacifica was too small. Now, the other thing was the next day, I had to use the vehicle again, and it still had the stank in it. So I had to go and take it to go get professionally detailed. And I told them, you're going to be at this at least 3 or 4 hours. Those seats smell terribly. So that's exactly what happened. 4 hours later, it didn't smell like stank anymore. So now I was pretty happy. Microphone warning. Anyway, we'll try and get that back there. So that's the reason. So I learned a lesson from that. And like I said, if people get in the vehicle and they smell that bad, yeah, that means they either poop their pants or they don't bathe or something else. And that's the reason why they smell that bad. And trust me, you don't want to smell that at all. Because if you're constantly retching on the inside as you're getting this person to their destination, it's not good for you, because that's considered a driving hazard. Because your body is physically regurgitating your food, even though you're trying to force it back down again. And you're driving at the same time. Now, the thing is, though, is the fact that, like I said, total, I have over 10 years customer service experience, over 5 years of experience handling money, but yet I'm not allowed to get a job here in Vietnam at all, because I don't want to teach English, and I don't fall into the definition of someone that has I don't fall into the definition of an English teacher anymore, because I don't want to teach English. I want a different job, but I'm not allowed to work. Now, in this episode, down below, if you look down below, you'll go ahead and see a link to the Google Drive. That link is a link to my resume that has my phone number, my email address, and all of my listed experience from all the jobs I've ever worked, starting from my first job at Arby's all the way up to the English Center that I just quit back in February. And it starts from 2008 until 2023, which is this year. So yeah, it has about 15 years of experience on it. 15 years of experience in various job aspects. See, the thing is a lot of employers, I'm not saying all, but a lot of employers here in Vietnam do not know or care about the labor code. They will discriminate based on age. They will discriminate based on nationality, skin color, religion, stuff like that. They have no problem discriminating against age, marital status, or anything else. They have no problem discriminating because they believe that they're too big, that they can't be touched. Reason why I say that is because of the fact that I know my chances of getting a job, any job, other than teaching English, is about this much. This much. Reason why I'm even giving myself that is because of the fact that I have a resume and I have this experience and I know I can do jobs outside of teaching English. But again, because of this, I cannot go ahead and have a job anything other than teaching English. So, yeah. Now, it's getting ready to turn midnight here in about a minute, so it's going to flip over to June 26th, 2023. One of the things that people don't realize is that they actually do have Oreos here in Vietnam. Now, these Oreos are not actually made in Vietnam. They're actually made in Indonesia, Thailand, and a few other places. Still just as good, though. But you will notice that the Oreo, the Hershey's, and everything else that's over here has a slightly different flavor. That's because they don't use banned substances. In the United States, there are certain substances that are banned for export because of the fact that it's not healthy. Carcinogenic, blah, blah, blah. That's the reason why you won't find a lot of American food here. And if you do, it is normally sold at specialty foreigner stores that cater exclusively to foreign clients. So, here's the other thing. I saw an advertisement on Facebook talking about a quality director job, specifically needing someone who can speak English because they have foreign clients in the United States. And I go, awesome, that's something I can do. So, excuse me. So I applied for the job, more than likely I'm not going to hear anything back because of the fact that they're not going to take someone who has years of experience. They're not going to take someone who actually wants the job. They're not going to take someone who has white skin. They're going to look for a local citizen who can speak English well so they can pay bare minimum like 10, 15 million dong and expect them to go ahead and do the same work that I can do. Now, the advertisement specifically says foreigner, which is true. But honestly, I don't think that, like I said, I'll get the job because they also want someone who has experience in quality assurance, quality control, which I do have because I've not only done quality control in fast food, I've done quality control in light industrial work. But this specific place is a factory that makes garments. Now, people are like, well, if you've never done that before, how do you know you'd be a good fit? Well, it's pretty simple. It's not hard. You have a swatch or a sample of fabric, and this sample of fabric is what it's supposed to be like. The color, the texture, everything. Now, if the product, say a pair of shoes, okay, if I would see something like blown stitches, ripped stitches, discoloration, mismatch, off match, if, the glue wasn't used properly, any defects at all, it gets rejected. But the thing is, though, is the fact you can't look at every single one and determine the quality of it. You can only sample one or two. So out of a group of 100, if you have, say, I don't know, we'll just say 10%. If at least 10% or 10 pairs of shoes are bad, that means the whole batch has to be scrapped. Because if I pull that many and they're all bad, that means the whole batch has to be thrown out, basically. But here in Vietnam, things are different. See, even if a factory messes up and produces clothes that are, like I said, mismatch, off match, wrong fabric, wrong color, stuff like that, it can still be sold, but at a steep discount because they're essentially factory rejects that were harvested to be sold to the local public. So quality control, quality assurance, it's not that hard of a job. But the problem I run into is the fact that I know the labor code inside and out like the back of my hand. Which means, again, the chances of me getting a job are quite low because employers here do not want people that actually know their rights. Most employers here want people that don't know their rights, so this way they can steal from them, treat them horribly, and the employee won't know any better. All right, moving on. So, what else am I going to talk about tonight? Um, hmm. Honestly, there's not much else to talk about right now. I mean, I've been out of work since February. I've been trying my hardest to find work, but nothing comes. I've tried selling stuff online. That didn't work. I've tried YouTube and Facebook to try and generate more followers so I can get that advertising revenue. That does work, but unfortunately, it takes a long time, and time is something I don't have. Now, as you've noticed, I've been asking for donations on every single video that I've been producing, but yet not one single person has donated. Now, I have had a person who donated to the coalition that I have, and I did split it up accordingly, and I even chipped in money to the coalition myself. But, uh, but, nothing's happened with it. See, the thing is the fact that I've literally done everything I can, but there's nothing else for me to do. Like I said, I've applied for work. Monster.com Vietnam works. I've tried applying for work. I've tried answering advertisements on Facebook. I've tried creating my own work. I've tried doing so many things and nothing works. Nothing works. And it just makes me sad that I'm not allowed to work. I want to work, but I'm not allowed to. Now, a lot of people are like, well, why don't you just go back to teaching English? I don't want to teach English anymore. I'm burned out. I don't want to teach English. I know I'm not a good fit as an English teacher. That's why I don't want to teach English anymore. The other problem I keep having is the fact that with me being socially inept, it's very difficult for me to make new friends. It is. Because of the fact that I feel like I can only connect with a very, very small percentage of people. I can't connect with everyone. Even if I were to go down to Taotian Ward in District 2 to go ahead and have a coffee, I'd rather have a coffee in a local coffee shop than in a coffee shop that's exclusive to foreigners, because of the fact that in the local coffee shops I feel much more comfortable. The prices are more reasonable. The staff are very friendly and nice. However, even the foreigner outlets, such as this one in Taotian Ward that it essentially is a flower shop, but it's also a coffee shop at the same time. They sell a single cup of coffee for 80,000 dong. Okay? 80,000 dong per cup of coffee. That doesn't sound right. It's like 40 or 50,000 dong. I think that was more the accurate price. It's more 40, 50,000 dong. The one in District 1, that one sells for 80,000 dong a cup. But yet, foreigners gladly pay this because they don't know any better. But the local coffee shop that's just up the street will sell you the exact same coffee. Well, maybe not exact same because it's from concentrate, but they will sell you coffee for 10,000 dong. And you even have a nice place to sit down. Even though it's not air conditioned, you still have a nice place to sit down. That's the reason why I prefer local over foreigner coffee shops, because the prices are cheaper, the staff is nicer, and even though it may not speak the same language, as long as you're polite and respectful, that's something that all citizens can appreciate. So what else? What else? So people are like, why can't you bring your wife to America? Well, there's a specific reason for that. Immigration rules. Immigration rules, courtesy of Zoom Global Business Consulting. You'd have to look that up on YouTube. The chief litigator, his name is Ken Dung, or Zung, I think. And he's the chief litigator for Zoom Global Business Consulting. And according to his firm, they say that I must have either 200,000 USD in assets, could be cash, could be a house, could be anything. But I must have at least 200,000 USD in assets, or prove that I make at least 20,000 USD a year. And then pay an additional 5,000 USD to process paperwork for my wife to go with me to America. Now, as far as my daughter goes, it won't cost nearly that much because I can actually give her citizenship. As I'm an American, I can pass my citizenship on to my daughter. Now, that will only cost about 5 million dong, which is about 270, I think, USD. I'd have to look it up. But I know it's not much. Now, why haven't I done this yet? Even though my daughter was born back in 2019, why haven't I done this yet? Because of the plain and simple fact that I'm on the fence about giving her citizenship. I don't know if I really want to, or if I want her to go ahead and apply for U.S. citizenship herself when she turns 18. Because the fact that one of the things that I'm worried about is that I may not be able to meet the requirements to give my daughter citizenship, as I have not had a significant presence in the United States in almost 5 years. So I don't know if I can give her citizenship. If I can't, she'll have to go ahead and apply for citizenship the normal way. There's no guarantee that she'll be able to get it either. My tea has long since grown cold, but it's still okay to drink. So essentially, people are like, well, that's cruel of you. You need to give her citizenship. And I go, well, here's the thing. Again, I'm not sure I can. So it is what it is. I will still try when I get money available, but there's no guarantee that I'll be able to give her citizenship. Now, with me, I want Vietnamese citizenship because of the fact that I want to be able to start my own business without having to pay any investment, like not to have an investment, no requirements for investment capital because, see, with me, I don't want to start a big corporation. I just want to start a business that my family and I can live off of, like a tapwa, convenience store, or even a restaurant. I love food. And I come up with some weird stuff all the time for food. Some of it's good, some of it's not. And a sandwich that I literally made this morning using what I mentioned in the previous video, the banh mi rolls that you find so often here in Vietnam. What I did was I cut the top or the edge off of one side of it. It was about this big around when I went ahead and sliced through it. And that left a nice flat surface that I was able to use the knife and dig out the inside, make it hollow on the inside. And then I went ahead and took some leftover fried rice with corned beef in it, peppers, garlic, and green onion, and of course a nice healthy dash of soybean sauce. And I, put that in there, refried it up because it was leftovers from yesterday. And I took a spoon and then scooped it into the banh mi roll, like about 10 scoops or something like that, to where it filled up the sandwich. And I ate on it, and it was fantastic. And since it was made like that, nothing spilled out of the side. Because normally when you split open a banh mi roll, you go ahead and split it up right down the middle. But since I didn't do that, I just made a hole on one side. It made it easy to eat. And it was something you could eat fairly quickly. Now, I think stuff like that would definitely sell. Now, people are like, well, you sell strange food. Maybe not a lot of people will buy it. Well, if they don't, they don't. Just like with the coalition, I'm not going to make people eat at my restaurant. If they want to come, they will. If they don't, then they don't. Now, as far as foreigners go, any foreigner that enters my restaurant will pay the exact same price as a local citizen. And the prices will be clearly listed on the menu, on the board, and in advertisements and everywhere else, so people know exactly how much something is supposed to cost. Now, some days there may be a random day where there is no menu, and I just completely make up stuff at random as it comes out of my head. And if people like it, they do. If they don't, they don't. But no refunds. Yeah, I'm a little sleepy today because I only got about 5 hours of rest. That's a topic for another time. So the thing is what time is it now? 37 minutes. Cool. I don't know if I'm actually going to talk for the whole 40 minutes, 40, 90 minutes, whatever. I don't know. We'll just see where it goes. Now, let's see. What else? What else? Oh, yeah. Besides the link to my resume that I'm going to post in the description box, down below, I'm also going to go ahead and what else? What else was I thinking of? Besides that, I was going to do something else. Honestly, I don't remember. I had an idea, but then it left. I can't post bank information in YouTube because it's considered giving out personal information. You can't do that. That's the reason why I ask people to send me an email to tuxedoshadow@gmail.com so that they can send me an email, say that I want to donate, and then I go ahead and help them out with that. So here's the thing. I'm starting to get a little bit bored, and there's not really much else for me to talk about right now. So here's what I want to do. For everyone watching out there, please consider donating to me because I really, really, really need the money. I want to work, but I'm not allowed to. If I was allowed to, I'd march my happy backside right on down to the local restaurant and get a job. I'd march my happy backside on down to McDonald's, Burger King, Popeyes, fast food joints here in Ho Chi Minh City. I'd be more than happy to march my happy backside down there and apply for a job. Even though fast food is considered a low job in the United States, for someone like me, it's better than nothing. Because I'd still be earning at least somewhat of an income so I could provide for my family. For everyone out there that does have a job and are gainfully employed, that's great. Good for you. Keep your job. If you don't like your job, make sure you have a better one in place before you quit your other job. All right? Don't be like me and quit your job without any, notion of what you're going to do next. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. Now, when I post my resume, if you want to go ahead and pass it along to someone who might be willing to give me a job, go ahead and pass it along. The link will be open to everyone that has it, which is, all of you on YouTube and all of you on Facebook, because I also cross post on Facebook too. So take my resume, read it thoroughly. It's over 6 pages long, and it combines all my experience from the United States and all of my experience here in Vietnam. Now, I'm going to go ahead. What in the world? That looks like an ant of some kind. So I'm going to go ahead and end this video here because it's already about 40 minutes long. So if you like my videos, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment, as well as hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I come out with new videos. If you want to donate to me, send me an email to tuxedoshadow@gmail.com. Subject line, I want to donate. This way I can go ahead and give you instructions on what to do next. I accept local bank transfers and international bank transfers, and I will give you specific instructions on how you can do that. Now, the link for the CV is down below. The link for the Google email address, tuxedoshadow@gmail.com, again, in the description down below. And the Zalo chat room for English teachers that want to learn about their rights, also in the description box down below. So, I want to go ahead and tell everyone, have a good day, be safe, and I'll see you again soon.